This is the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news about money. Here's Robert Kiyosaki.
Hello. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news about money. And here with my sweetheart Kim. And we have a very important show today. It's on this business called timeshares. Because, and what need to say this up front, we don't recommend, we don't say buy, sell, and we don't trash too many things unless we don't like the person. I'll trash them then. But anyway, this is a purely objective show about the business of timeshares. And we have our Rich Dad advisor, Tom Wheelwright, author of the book Tax-Free Wealth. And the reason I especially wanted to have Tom on here is because as a CPA, and Tom has helped us make frickin' millions of dollars in real estate. But Tom also owns a timeshare. I always thought that was interesting. And then here we have Henri Moreau, and he is a timeshare specialist. He's a real estate broker for 17 years. So once again, Rich Dad is a purely educational show. We don't recommend, we don't make any commissions, we don't say anything other than educate people. So, Tom, anything you want to say first, Kim?
Well, this will be interesting because I don't know much about timeshares, and I'm interested to find out the pros and cons of timeshares. And, of course, whenever talking about real estate, we always have to talk about taxes, and there's a lot of new tax regulation coming down the pike. So always fascinated to hear from Tom because Tom loves reading the tax code. Tom loves studying what's coming down, and so I'm curious to and anxious to hear all the new regulations coming on and how that affects timeshare. Something I'm really not familiar with.
But also, technology has brought on Airbnb, and Kim and I kind of an Airbnb by default. But anyway, the business is all around real estate, and real estate's our favorite subject. So, Henri, please introduce yourself and welcome to the Rich Dad Show.
Hey, thanks. It's really great to be with all of you. I've had the privilege of being a real estate broker for about 17 years. Our company is called Timeshare Properties Inc., but our website is wmcredits.net. We've transferred about 5,000 timeshares over those 17 years. We have an A-plus rating with the BBB and not one complaint in 17 years, and we're really proud of that. Every day I just talk to people about timeshares, the good, the bad, the ugly, and I love what I do. Timeshares is one of those things where when you're done with it, it's kind of like a boat, and you just want to sell it. You just can't sell it anymore. And then those that sell are very happy to sell, and those who buy, at least from us who are buying at 10% of the original cost, are really happy. So most of the days I spend just making people really happy, whether they're buying or selling a timeshare. And that's really a fun thing to do.
Well, Kim and I have a boat. You can help us out.
Actually, we are in the process of selling that boat.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It really is true. It really is true. The happiest day is when you buy it, and the happiest day is when you sell it. So anyway, welcome everybody to the program. FYI is that I got interested in timeshare because Rich Dad had a hotel on the island of Kauai, and they took a run at it. You know, we actually did the analysis of running it as a regular hotel or running it as a timeshare, and the amount of money as a timeshare is staggering. I mean, talk about leverage. Holy moly.
So the Kauai hotel you were thinking of timesharing with your Rich Dad? Yeah.
It was about a 6-month project. We kept evaluating it and all this, and the money was staggering, but we were just talking before we went on air. You know, the money is so staggering, but greed is good, and people jump in there and get greedy. Another way I was a part of the timeshare was I started working with a lot of people who sold timeshares because, you know, selling is a basic skill of being an entrepreneur. And we met a lot of people who had to sell timeshare, and they were great to work with because they're ambitious. You know, they live and died by the sale and all this stuff. So it's always been an interesting industry for me. I've looked at buying a timeshare, you know, because it's really attractive. You can buy a timeshare in Hilo or Kona, but you can vacation in Spain. So, boy, that's a good idea. You know, it's really an attractive industry. Lots of money, lots of leverage, but a lot of pitfalls also.
But I remember the one timeshare we went to look at, and it was that deal. It was like you buy this timeshare, and you can have timeshares all over the world, and it was great. And so we started calling some of the people that had timeshares there with this company? And they're like, well, yeah, it's great, except they're always booked and you can never get any time on any of them. So I'm like, okay, that didn't work. So Henri, what are some of the pros and cons?
People ask me all the time, are timeshares good? And I always ask the question right back to them, is marriage good? Because in lots of ways, timeshares are like a marriage. When you're in a really good marriage, there's nothing closer to heaven. But when you're in a bad marriage, there's nothing closer to hell. And in lots of ways, timeshares are the exact same thing. When you own a really good timeshare, you love it. And when you own a bad timeshare, you really, really hate it and are in a bad spot. And honestly, Kim, it depends if you're in timeshare heaven or hell on how you bought it and how you sell it. And when you get both of those right, I think you have a chance to be in timeshare heaven. Now, this week, for example, I had many different clients that were in either case. And many times I feel like I'm more of a timeshare therapist than I am a real estate broker. One of our clients who bought 5 years ago at a really low price on the resale market called just to say thank you. They were vacationing now 4 or 5 times a year, and their family was loving it. They were taking their kids and their kids as friends, and they were making memories, so they were in timeshare heaven. At the same time, and I think you'll appreciate this, I got a phone call from a lady named Christine, who is 62 years old. And she said, Henri, I owe $115,000 on my timeshare. Oh. Can you help me? 62 years old. She's paying $3,000 a month in maintenance fees and her loan costs. So that's $36,000 a year. And over a 10-year period until her loan's paid off, she will pay $360,000 for that timeshare. That's worth $30,000. So 2 situations, 2 timeshares, some people in misery and some people in bliss at the exact same time.
Thank you. So Tom, as a CPA and all this, and you own a timeshare, are you in heaven or hell?
Well, I'm Henri. I'm one of those that bought the great timeshare. First of all, I think some of it depends on why you're buying the timeshare. I love the property. I love the location. It's just north of Kona, on the Big Island of Hawaii. And it's run by Hilton, and Hilton does an amazing job. Absolutely. They are one of the best companies I've ever worked with from a customer standpoint. They're just absolutely amazing. And what I liked about it is it was a forced vacation. So I actually was talking to a timeshare salesperson once, and they said that the profession that buys timeshares the most are accountants, which they find is an endorsement. But all it is that we need a reason to take a vacation, because otherwise we'll take a vacation. I will say that I have rarely used my timeshare outside of my home property. So I thought that was very important. Plus in Hawaii, now from a tax standpoint, in Hawaii, it's a little different than some other timeshares. In Hawaii, it's actually a fee simple ownership, meaning you own an undivided interest in the real estate. It's very much like a tenancy in common, Kim, if you really look at it that way. But on top of that, you have a membership so that you can go other places. I can actually use it at Hilton hotels if I want to. I don't even have to use it at a timeshare. And I did buy, by the way, Henri, I bought, so I have 2 weeks, and one of them I bought on the resale market, and was very fortunate that in that resale, I still got Hilton points, because that's not common as I understand it. So I'm in timeshare bliss for sure. I love
it. So Henri, would you, for people that don't know, what exactly is a timeshare?
Yeah, great question. It's the right to be able to use a resort for a certain period of time. Most timeshares go on a week schedule, so you'll buy a timeshare that for that particular week 1 through week 52, you'll have access to those 7 days. You'll pay one time for the use of that week forever. And then you have to pay what's called maintenance fees, which the resort uses to keep that resort nice. And those last forever and ever and ever. So you have to weigh the 2 costs, the cost to purchase and then the cost to have ongoing maintenance fees. And then some, like Tom's system with Hilton, he has bought the right to use that Hilton as a home resort. but he also owns points that he can convert, and he can use those points to stay at other Hilton properties. And not sure if Tom has done that, he can exchange those points through other exchange companies like RCI or Interval International that would give him 3,000 to 5,000 other resorts to choose from. So if you use it correctly, there's massive flexibility and the ability to be able to travel really all over the world. Hilton is a really good property because it has some of the highest trading power, which means he is able to give away his Hilton and get other like-minded or higher-minded resorts for, again, places all over the world.
Wow. Any comments on that, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. For example, they have a property in Tuscany. They have properties in the UK. They have a lot of properties, and they are high end properties. I mean, these are not your low end properties. My cost basis is like practically nothing. I think for 2 weeks, I probably paid $35,000 for 2 weeks. In that Hilton, which would be probably 3-4 times that if you bought it today, I think. So it was a good buy for me. And the maintenance fees are, I pay about $200 a night is basically what I'm paying, but for a $600 a night condo. Right. So basically the purchase price pays down the annual. And if you use it every year, the other thing I like about it is that sometimes if I can't use it, I'll give it away. And there's nothing, and that's actually how I learned to like timeshare. One of my clients gave me a week, actually a couple of weeks in Kona, downtown Kona on the beach. And I'm going, this is awesome. This is absolutely fantastic. He couldn't use it. He gave it away. And I find that some of the best things I've ever done is give away weeks at the timeshare. So
Tom, let me ask, is what you're talking about, a lot of commonalities in the real estate world. You got to buy it right. You got to get the right terms. Its management is key. What about the taxes? How do taxes compare on a timeshare?
Again, that's very different. So depending on whether it's a fee simple ownership or whether it's just a membership. So membership, there's, like, on mine, I get to deduct my real estate taxes because I own the real estate. Whereas if it were membership, you would not. Now, the other thing, of course, is if you use it for business, then it's going to be deductible whether or not it's a membership or whether it's real estate. So that's really one of the keys from a tax standpoint is just make sure you're using it for business and then it's deductible.
Henri, comments?
Yeah. I agree with Tom 100%.
Oh, God. This is a timeshare sales pitch here. Let's go to Tuscany.
I like Tom. One of the ways that I actually started is I bought my first timeshare on the resale market, and we talk about that a little bit later. Tom alluded to it very, very quickly. And then for a period of 3 years, I would buy a timeshare. I would strip out the points or the credits, and I would give those points away to people that needed a vacation, whether it's a husband and wife or kids. And I've probably given away 30 different weeks to people that are going on a honeymoon and need a cheap place to go, or inexpensive, I should say, place to go. So I love being able to give away what I call the gift of rest. And I don't know if there's a more important gift nowadays for people to just be able to get away, take a breath, unwind, reset, and get back to what's most important to them after having a period of just rest and relaxation. It really does change you to be able to take that breather and go back and be who you are really made to be.
Henri, you mentioned the flexibility, which is something I like, but at least with my timeshare, and I'm sure they're not all like this. If I don't use it 1 year, I can carry those points over and I can use it the next year and I can push, or I can give it away, or I can convert it to Hilton points where I can use it at a hotel. So to me, the flexibility is a key in what you're buying. Like you say, Kim, any real estate, a lot of what you've got to pay attention to in the contract are the terms, right? It's not just the actual real estate itself, but it's actually the terms of the real estate. And I think that's something very important to be looking for in a timeshare.
So when we come back, this is right now we sound like a timeshare pitch.
We do. I want to hear about the other side.
I want to hear it. So we come back.
Bad side.
So we come back, we'll talk about the stupid mistakes that stupid people make, because it's really I still remember so many times getting sucked into those timeshare presentations.
Sales pitches, yeah.
And they're really enticing. They're really, really exciting. But given that I don't know much and I don't like to read the contract, it's best I don't buy anything. So when we come back, we'll be talking more about what the bad side of timeshare is. We've heard about the good side, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. Today is a very special project. It's about vacations and enjoying life. It's about timeshares. And it's a very interesting subject. I've heard pros, cons, good, bad. And anyway, it's been a good program. So we talked about the good. It's all exciting. Now we're going to find out about the bad. Anything?
Yeah, we're going to find out about some of the pitfalls, because there are pros and cons to every real estate deal out there. And so if I could ask Henri, you were talking about the 62-year-old woman who had this disaster of a timeshare. What happened and what didn't she see, or what mistakes was she making?
Right. She made the cardinal mistake, the biggest pitfall, the worst thing that you can do when buying a timeshare. And that's, she bought her timeshare brand new from the developer. Now, in your book, Robert, you talk about when you buy a car and you buy it off the showroom floor, it's worth 25% about less as soon as you drive it off the lot. When you buy a timeshare from a developer, it's worth between 90 and 95% less instantly, immediately.
Wow.
90 to 95?
95%.
Holy mackerel.
So it's like buying a new Ferrari. I pay, let's say, $100,000. I drive off, it's worth $40,000. We can't resell it right away and all that.
Like worth $5,000.
Yeah.
No, not a Ferrari. Come on,
Not a Ferrari, but a timeshare, right? That's what you're saying, right, Henri?
Wow.
So, Kim, what you were talking about is you go to these meetings, and it is exciting. Mm-hmm. You have someone like Tom who's talking about timeshares and how amazing it is. You need a forced vacation. You want to take your kids. You want to develop memories. You need a break. And this high-powered, very, very wise, smart salespeople, they tell you all the things that you want to hear and are very good things. And you didn't plan on spending $60,000. You didn't plan on having 15% interest, but at the end of that 2 or 3 hours, you walk away like Christine did, and now she has this massive debt that she can never, ever recover from. Christine, Kim, has two different options. She can just keep paying for the next 10 years, $360,000, or she could just say, forget it, get out of the timeshare, quit paying, and then it'll become a foreclosure. And basically what happens at that point, she'll get massive credit collection agencies after her. And then eventually they will just foreclose on it. And then she'll have about 7 years of a totally trash credit score and have to try to rebuild that. But that's what people do when they haven't done any research. And it's funny, people research to buy a car, to buy a house, to send your kids to college, but yet to buy a timeshare in one split second, someone could make or break their financial future. So that is a pitfall, and people have to be very, very careful.
So Tom, do you see any other options for Christine?
Boy, she's in trouble. She really is. Now, when she does take it, she gets a loss. Okay, if she can call it investment property. The worst thing is this is probably a vacation home, and she probably doesn't get a loss at all because it's probably personal. So it's not. She probably, if she's if she's made these mistakes, she's probably also made the mistake that this is not investment property. It's not set up as investment property. Rather, it's a personal vacation property. And so when she gets out, she won't even get any tax benefit for getting out of it.
So Henri, your company is called www.wmcredits.net. www.wmcredits.net. Do people contact you if they're in trouble like that?
Oh, I would say I probably get a call like that 3 or 4 times a week, Robert. The other day I got a call from an old client named Doug, who had actually purchased from me many years ago. And on a whim, about a month ago, he went to a timeshare presentation without his wife because he wanted to gift her, bless her and them with a lifetime of more vacations. So he came home, told his wife that he had spent $60,000 on this timeshare. And he told me, and you could hear the tears coming from the other end of the phone, that she was so mad, so angry at him, felt that she could no longer trust him because he made a decision without her that put them in financial peril times. Seriously, they don't have the money to spend $60,000 at 15% in a timeshare.
15%. Is that typical?
That's pretty typical, correct?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, most banks won't
mean?
Interest rate on their loan.
You think usury laws would prevent that?
Yeah.
Well, most banks won't finance a timeshare because here's the deal. If someone doesn't pay that timeshare bill, the bank doesn't get the interest in that timeshare. That timeshare company does. And so they'll finance it on their own at a really high rate. And
so, Henry, most timeshares are not fee simple ownership?
it depends on which ones that you're buying. So Marriott, you would actually own a deed to, for example, a Marriott property. You do for Hilton. But there's other timeshares like Diamond, Worldmark, Wyndham, you are basically buying just the right to use points for forever. Basically, you pay forever for this timeshare until you stop paying the maintenance fees. And for Doug, it was devastating. He got off the end of the phone with me, and he basically said, Henry, because of this one decision, I don't think our marriage is going to work. So, Kim, these are real stories, and we've talked about the good. You asked for the bad. These are really bad situations that I hear probably 3 or 4 times every single week.
So let me ask you a question, Henry. So that $60,000 timeshare, either that one or the one that Christine had, what would that sell for on the used market?
It would sell for about $6,000.
Whoa.
Christine's would sell for $30,000. Doug's would sell for $6,000.
Wow.
So 60 to 6,000 as soon as
90%.
Wow.
Jeez.
Wow.
So what other pitfalls, what other terms of the contract, or what other pitfalls should people be aware of?
So the other pitfall I think is really important is what the maintenance fees are. And I'm just shocked when people spend all this money to actually buy the timeshare, and then they really don't know or research what the maintenance fees are. The average maintenance fee across the board is about $1,000 per year for a normal timeshare. But there are some, Tom mentioned his is more than that. There's some timeshares that would be $2,000 or $3,000 a year. And what you're hoping for is that the use that you get is more than what it would cost to actually rent that same property, exactly as Tom is doing.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Go ahead, Tom.
I'm curious, Henry, how has Airbnb affected your business and the timeshare business? I would think, to me, if you're not absolutely sure, man, I want to be here all the time, it seems to me like Airbnb would be a great alternative.
It's interesting. Great question, by the way. I think it's helped and it's harmed. I think it's actually helped my business because I can tell people now, hey, you know what? If you can't go on vacation this year, just put your timeshare on Airbnb. And for a lot of our clients, they are now buying more points and more timeshares because they're making more on Airbnb than their maintenance fees.
Interesting.
That's amazing.
Some could take the maintenance fees that they would normally pay for 4 weeks of use, rent it out on Airbnb for 2 weeks, and they have 2 weeks free to use their timeshare for their maintenance fees. So in that way, I think it's really helping. Also, I'm finding that the fees that Airbnb or VRBO, both, that you charge in addition to just taking the vacation, all the fees that they put in are oftentimes way higher than the maintenance fees that you would pay in a timeshare.
So, Henry, before we get running short on time here, so you go, you buy and sell, right? So if somebody's in trouble, you'll pick it up and then you'll resell it for them.
Yes.
And then stuff like so. Could you explain how your services work?
Yeah, so we specialize in a timeshare called Worldmark by Wyndham. It's a points-based system. Although I can help anybody through any timeshare, So if anybody needs help, regardless if it's World Mark by Wyndham, feel free to give me a call or email me. So we will offer to buy their timeshare and pay them within 120 days. And then I take the timeshare that's now in my name, and I'm paying maintenance fees on it. So I want to try to sell it as fast as I can, to be honest with you. And then I sell it to somebody else. And it's usually somebody that's gone to a presentation and was offered the same type of program for $50,000. I offer it to them for $5,000. So again, it's one of those situations where everybody wins.
So is one of the golden rules never to buy from a slick presentation?
Never buy retail, always buy resale.
Okay, that's a good rule.
Hey, we have that boat. When we do it.
We were kind of Airbnb-ing it with the boat.
Tom, any tax advice or any other advice for people when they consider? Because it's vacation, it's attractive, it's sexy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a couple of things. First of all, there are times when you want to own that within a business or a limited liability company. That's how I own mine. I don't own mine personally. And it's on the deed that I don't own it personally. And they always wonder, so who's this, so-and-so when I go in, I have to explain I'm the owner because I know that's unusual, but that, I own it that way for a couple of reasons. One is I think there is some asset protection issues, which, Garrett Sutton could talk about sometime. But also from a tax standpoint, it's if you are using it for business, it's much easier to show business use when your business owns the timeshare, as opposed to when you're just getting reimbursed or something. It's a pretty tough argument that this is used for business if you're not really doing business while you're at your timeshare.
Okay.
Do most people, Henry, buy it in their own personal name?
Most of them do. I would say what Tom is doing is very wise, but very rare.
But anybody could do that, Tom, right? Anybody could put it in. Should put it in for asset protection alone. Yeah.
So, Henry, if I go, I've gone to those presentations. They're really fun, So you're saying don't do that.
I would say to be very careful. Most people aren't like you, Robert, because people can't say no. You're probably better at saying no.
He's not. He's not.
I don't say no.
That's why I'm shocked.
He's
Robert,
not good at saying no.
Timeshares. That just shocks me.
But what happens is people go because they get the free jet ski rentals, or if they're in Hawaii, they get a free $200 luau, and it ropes them in. They hear how great it is, and then pretty soon they walk out $30,000 or $40,000 less money. I
have to say this too, Henry, and this is advice I would give to somebody, because when we asked the questions about the finances and expenses, I will have to get back to you on that. They were not forthcoming with it. They were not.
Yes.
Yeah, when you said that guy was crying on the phone because his wife was angry at him, that was me.
And they don't give you much time to get out of it, do they? Once you sign it, how much time do you have until you continue?
Most states will give you 7 to 10 days to get out of it. You have to send a written notice to usually some address. It's very small print in the back of the contract. But if you don't send it by that amount of time, you're pretty much stuck. Their lawyers are really good about writing up those contracts. And if someone ever does need to cancel within that time frame, I always encourage them to send the letter, return receipt requested certified, so that the timeshare company can't say we never got it, because they've been known to do that, unfortunately. So
obviously your friend did not cancel in time. He was surprising his wife.
Correct.
So final words, Tom.
To me, I think a lot of that's come up is asking the right questions. Ask the right questions about the timeshare. Ask yourself the right questions about, is this something that, 20 years from now, because this is not a short-term purchase, 20 years from now, do I still see myself using it? And I've been using mine for 20 years. So, if you say, yeah, this is someplace I can come, there's different things to do. I just love this. And I would also suggest vacation in that location a couple of times before
Good
you
idea.
buy that timeshare, to make sure, okay, the first time is, it's always romantic. It's always awesome. The second time, it's still pretty good. By the third time, you either know this is the place for you or this is not the place for you. And I know for me, for example, when I see that moon-like surface that I'm coming into in Kona, when we're landing, I'm home. And that's how I feel. I feel like I'm home when I fly in there. So that's the feeling I think you want to have. And then the other thing is don't, I think Henry's got some really good ideas here that, buying used can be good. I would say there are some downsides to buying used. For example, on mine, if you bought mine used, you would not get the Hilton points. Okay. Wow. You would only get the timeshare. You would not get the Hilton. The Hilton doesn't transfer. The timeshare does. So you do have to be very careful about the terms, about what you really get, about what the payments are. All of those things are very, very important.
Okay. Thank you. And Henry, final words? But by the way, Tom's website is wealthability.com. His book is Tax-Free Wealth. He's our personal advisor. He's made us millions of dollars without paying taxes. So, Henry, final words.
A couple of final words. We've talked about buying the timeshare. We haven't really talked about selling one. So timeshares probably have the reputation for the most scams in any industry worldwide. So if you're going to sell your timeshare, the biggest scam is, number one, people contact you out of the blue. You immediately know it's a scam. And the second thing is, don't ever, ever, ever send money up front to a company or a marketing agency to get out of your timeshare. Once you send that money as the seller, you will never see that money ever, ever again. So a timeshare broker or an organization should only get paid once they perform. Don't ever send them money up front until that money is in escrow in a normal trust real estate account.
So this is Henri Moreau, Moreau. His website is www.wmcredits.net. So I want to thank the two of you. I mean,
this is good. I learned a lot. Yeah, I learned a lot. This was fantastic. Wonderful.
Final words, Kim, on this?
Well, there's so many ways to do real estate, and this is another option for people. It will work for some. It won't work for others. But I think the most important takeaway here is you really got to do your homework. I love the idea, Tom, of vacationing there a few times. Look at the numbers, ask the tough questions, really understand what you're getting into.
So, anyway, thank you both, Henry and Tom, and thank you all for listening to the Rich Dad Company. Have a good vacation. And when we come back, we'll have final words on real estate, timeshares, and vacation. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about timeshare. And the really good and ugly about the whole thing. Any words, Kim?
No, it was great. It was really informative because I didn't know much about timeshares and how they operate. And one of the biggest takeaways is you buy from a developer and your value of your property drops 90 to 95% once you sign that paper. What kind of investment is that?
I think Henry is going to be swamped with calls.
I think so. And maybe more with people wanting to get out than wanting to get in.
I should have talked to him earlier on this whole thing. What do you think, Sarah?
Well, same as Kim. I mean, the numbers are shocking. If 90%, what investment?
Yes.
Do you sign and you lose 90% of your money?
Well,
you would think that's insane.
I know you can find one.
You could. We've learned. But I thought this was a super informative episode, and I love the conversation. And we obviously have two experts who love timeshares, but we're open and transparent about the pitfalls, and I think that's what this show's all about. So I was really happy.
You know
with
what?
it.
I think too, Henry maybe took a big takeaway is that everybody that buys a timeshare should not put it in their personal name. This is one thing we teach for all types of real estate is you put it into an entity like an LLC because that gives you asset protection. So if somebody came and sued you, they could take your timeshare.
Yeah, that was a very good
That's really
point.
important for
And that's why we have Garrett Sutton, as part of our team. You have to have a really good team, especially in today's world. But it was a fantastic show. I got excited. I'm going to go call Henry and go find a timeshare.
I remember, so just a quick story back. I was 22. I was working at Scottsdale Fashion Square, in retail, and Marriott had a timeshare table setting out front. So every day I watched people, we're opening this new timeshare. You have to come. And the guy would pitch me every day. I'm like, do you realize, first of all, I make $30,000 a year? Like, it was funny. So that's my only timeshare experience, was being hassled every day.
Yeah. And the other reason I liked Tom's point about should vacation there, because the one we looked at was up in Sedona. Remember? Yeah. And we don't even go to Sedona. And we're only an hour and a half away, and we don't go there.
But we own a hotel
we
in
own a hotel there.
And we still don't go there.
So you can get so wrapped up in that sales pitch.
Well, because they sell relaxation and vacation.
Yes.
I mean, here I am, exhausted retail worker. I'm like, yes, I would really enjoy a vacation, but... Yeah. So you can get.
Yeah, it was really interesting. The pros and cons. It was fascinating.
Yeah. It was a great show. So thank you all for listening to the Rich Dad Radio Show. Thanks to Tom Wheelwright and Henri Moreau. Thanks for listening to the Rich Dad Show.